Hey folks, I'm back here again with the VOD3 Vet production, and we're going to talk about the Yamaha DM3. I've got the DM7 here with us for comparison, but we're going to talk about why VOD3 has chosen to invest in these for their breakout rigs. They do corporate conferences all over the US, and they have a lot of smaller rooms that need help and need high quality. They're moving from an analog desk to here, and I think it's going to be a great fit. But I wanted to paint the picture of how this fits within Yamaha's ecosystem and how it also relates to other consoles, because in my opinion, there's actually a gap in the middle between these two. As we'll see, there is a lot here in the DM7. There's the DM3. Yamaha with other series, maybe the CL1, CL3, CL5, there's a number in the middle. So is there going to be something? So we're going to unpack that a little bit. What we don't have here, that's the finisher of the series, is the DM7 Compact. That is a smaller form factor, less I/O, but similar engine to here. So, but I just want to show you a comparison between these two, what they are useful for. So let's unpack some of those features and maybe some of those features that are missing in the DM3. So let's uncover that. The first obvious comparison is the size of the desk. The DM7 is pretty compact, although there is the DM7 Compact. It doesn't take up a lot of real estate, but this guy is really, really cute. The DM3, it has a pair of rack ears. You can fit it on top. It's very easy to lift. It still feels nice and rugged. It doesn't feel cheap. It feels nicer to me than the TF series desks under their Yamaha's budget series. So this feels to me like a TF Plus, if I had to put it into words. We're gonna unpack some of the key differences in this workflow, but it actually fits more naturally to me in that product line than it does in the DM line. So again, like we discussed, I don't know if there's gonna be DM5 or something in the middle, but the DM3 it feels good. One of the biggest key difference you'll see is it only has one knob, the touch and turn, apart from the headphone knob. So they're really leaning on this contextual workflow, being able to poke around and figure things out. So on the DM7, the layout here, you have the EQ, and then you move over to the two dynamics, and that's similar here with the DM3. You have the EQ, two dynamics, but then it starts to borrow a lot from the TF series with the incoming gain meters are very similar. This left-hand side menu is similar. The patching system, if you go here to patch, looks very similar to the TF series. So the DM3 is basically looking forward to the DM7, but borrowing a lot from the TF. So that's, from a big picture standpoint, what is similar. Okay, one of the key features I think is great about this desk is it has the same USB chip that's in here. So you get 18 channels of USB I/O. This is connected over USB Type B connector, and you can run it into your machine. I was not able to get it as a low of latency as I was on the DM7, but it is a different driver, so I'm not sure what's going on there, but I was still able to get it down to 3.68 milliseconds on the in at 48K at 64 samples on my machine. So I can play around with that some more, maybe run at 96 to get it higher, get the latency lower. Anyway, but the cool feature about that is I'm now able to pipe audio out from the DM3 for either multi-track recording or further processing. And what I have here is Yamaha's VST Rack software. And the number one plugin that I'm really glad they included is the Maximizer. Now that we're all streaming things or having to record at hotter levels, we need a limiter to make sure we do not clip. That is not included in any other Yamaha desk, to my knowledge. The Ravage series, CL, QL, DM7, whatever. Nothing is an actual true peak limiter. So now piping the audio digitally out from the DM3 or the DM7 into VST Rack. This is VST Rack Essentials. You can get Pro if you buy their RIOUD interface. But here I've got the Maximizer plugin. I've set up a little test just to show you that it's doing right by it. So I'm going to pull up monitor, turn on the oscillator, I have it on burst, have it piped in here onto channel 8, coming in pretty hot at -8 dBFS. I'm running that out the master output into here, into VST Rack. And we see the input meters are coming in, it's hitting -8. It's hitting this Maximizer plugin. We can see in the middle here, there's a significant amount of gain reduction, and I have the output volume at -2, and I'm not getting any peaks over -2. So it's doing a really good job of stopping those peaks. Absolutely is a brick wall limiter. And then now you can pipe that out over USB back into the desk, or maybe send it to an analog output, feed it to whatever capture device, or just record it here locally. I really like that they included that plugin. I wish it was built in, but it's nice that if you buy either of these desks, you do get VST Rack Essentials and you have the Maximizer plugin. Now that we've talked about the differences between the DM7 and the DM3, the software, let's now zoom in a little bit back into the DM3, its channel count, its structure, and one of the biggest features I feel like it is lacking, and I'll just give it away now. There is no built-in Dugan. I'm really upset by that because this is going to be in VOD 3's inventory for their breakout rigs. If you got 4 folks up there on stage wearing some lavs for a corporate gig, it's nice to be able to have the Dugan to auto mix and help give you more gain before feedback. And I'm not really sure why they didn't include that. I don't know if it's a processing thing, cost, that's already built into the TF series, so they want you to get that. Maybe it can be added as a future firmware update, but that's something you got 64 channels of here in the DM7 and the DM7 Compact, and it's missing here from the DM3. And I really hope they add that in. But what you do have is 16 analog inputs, 8 analog outs. That's a pretty generous amount of analog I/O for a console this size. On the right-hand side, I can navigate to my inputs. It's an intuitive patching system. If I tap here, I can select any in and just scroll up from what's available. So these Dante inputs are grayed out because this is not the Dante version. But I can select a USB input for any playback, any of the analog inputs, which they just call in one. And that is here. I can hit the home button to go back. And like I mentioned, this has just a single touch and turn knob. So this is a key Yamaha feature of just touch something, figure out what you want to get. Here on analog gain, I could turn it up. It's got 64 dB of gain range. That's where we're at. It has a global on-off phantom power switch. EQ, pretty standard, similar to the TF series, high pass filter, and 4 bands. And I have the one knob feature if you want to get into that, where you just tap it once and you can choose a profile and increase. You got input delay. You got 2 dynamic sections, so this can be swapped over to a gate or a ducker. And if we go back to the Dynamics 2, I could put that in one knob as well, and that is a compressor. So those are our first 8 inputs. Going here, we can move on to our second 8, again, patch wherever we need. Then I've got 2 effects buses. Those can be time-based effects, so reverbs, delays, and I can select those here. So a plate, a hall, room, early reflections. Scrolling down, I got some delays here. I got a chorus. So those are meant to not be like a premium rack where I got a fancy knee EQ. Those are all time-based. And effects 2 is the same thing. And then I've got my returns right here. I also have a playback channel. This is out the gate routed from the USB, so if you want to play something back from there, or you can patch something else to it. You have your effects returns right here. You have your monitor, which can be on the headphone out or monitor any specific set of channels, and then your stereo output. And then lastly, you go into the output tab, you got 6 buses, which can be 3 stereo buses or 6 mono buses, and you can configure them however you want. You have 2 matrices, so it could be 1 stereo matrix or a pair of matrices, and then you have your stereo output bus. And really cool, you've got a custom fader layer. So if you want to have a mix of ins and outs or put them in different order, or maybe for different parts of the show, maybe the band section you want a custom 1, and there's a corporate section later that can be on custom 2. Very cool. And you've also got user-defined keys to pop up certain pages that you want to get to or have certain layouts that you want to see. In summary, the DM3 is a cute little desk. Very generous amount of analog I/O if that's needed. You can also get 16 in, 16 out of Dante if you go with the DM3D version. I love having the USB card output if you want to take advantage of using external processing or multi-track recording. It's in the DM series, but to me it feels like a TF Plus. It's a marrying of these workflows. So again, it creates this gap in the middle. The DM7 MSRP is $29,999, basically $30,000. The DM7 Compact sits at $15,000, and the one with Dante of the DM3, I think is around $2,400. maybe 22, and then this guy sits at $16.99. So there's this chasm in the middle, and there's also a missing number. So we'll just see if Yamaha is going to have a middle product, maybe a DM5. But this is also really close to the offerings they might have with the TF series or some of the older CL. So again, I haven't talked with Yamaha. I have no idea where they're going with this line. I think they've done a really good job with the DM7. The DM3 fits a specific niche of a smaller breakout room, although I'm pretty upset they don't have a Dugan. It could be a smaller like acoustic setup band who just needs to run their own monitors from the stage. I love the form factor. The rack ears are great. I actually just unmounted it from my rack. So fairly niche product. It feels nice. The build quality is nicer than TF. So if you wanted to upgrade, don't need a huge channel count, but something that is just a really handy utility type of console to have, this is a good one to get. My name is Michael Curtis, here with the VOD3 Vet Production, talking about the Yamaha DM7 and DM3. Appreciate your time. Thanks for watching. I'd love to hear a comment below on if you think Yamaha is going to have a DM5, a 4.5 something in the middle. What do you think that would look like? What would the I/O and feature set be? Does that make sense within their product line? We'll see what they do. Appreciate you watching. Tail slate.